I never thought much about silence until I moved into that apartment. It wasn't a bad place. Small, old but clean. The kind of building where everything sounds normal during the day. Footsteps above you, pipes knocking, doors opening and closing. Nothing unusual. At night, though, it changed in a way I didn't notice right away. I worked late shifts back then, so my nights were quiet by default. I'd come home after midnight, heat something simple, sit on the couch with the lights low. Most nights, I fell asleep with the TV still on, the volume barely audible. Silence wasn't something I feared. I welcomed it. The first time I heard the sound, I didn't even register it as important. It was just a dull knock, not loud, not sharp, more like something solid gently tapping another solid surface. One knock, then nothing. I remember glancing toward the hallway, waiting for another sound, but it didn't come. I assumed it was plumbing or someone shifting furniture upstairs. Buildings make noises. That's what I told myself. What bothered me later wasn't the knock, it was when it happened again. The second night I was already in bed. The apartment was dark except for the faint glow of the streetlight pushing through the blinds. I had just turned my phone face down when I heard it. The same sound, one knock, same tone, same weight, same duration. I checked the time out of habit. 1:17 a.m. I waited. Nothing followed. No footsteps, no voices, no pipes reacting. Just silence so complete it felt intentional. That's when I started paying attention. On the third night, I didn't wait for it. I expected it. I lay in bed, eyes open, staring at the ceiling, listening to the building settle. I didn't move. I didn't breathe deeply. I just listened. At exactly 1:17 a.m., it happened. One knock. I sat up immediately. The sound didn't come from the ceiling or the walls. It wasn't close enough to be inside my apartment, but it wasn't distant either. It felt aligned, like it came from directly across the hallway, from the other side of my front door. I stood there for a long time after that, listening for something else. Another knock, a shuffle, an elevator, anything. Nothing came. The next day, I told myself it was coincidence. 2 nights don't make a pattern. 3 nights barely do. I went to work, came home, tried not to think about it. But that night, I didn't turn the TV on. I wanted to hear it clearly. I sat on the couch in the dark, facing the front door. The hallway light was off. The door across from mine was barely visible through the peephole shadow under my door. At 1:17 a.m., the knock came. Same sound, same exact timing. I stood up slowly and pressed my ear against my door. Nothing. No movement, no breath, no shifting weight, just the building holding still. I unlocked the door before I could talk myself out of it. The hallway was empty. No one stood there. No door was open. The carpet was undisturbed. I checked both ends of the hall. Nothing. When I went back inside, I noticed something that made my stomach tighten. My phone, still on the couch, showed the time. 1:17 a.m. Not 1:18, not 1:16. Exactly the same minute. That's when the idea started forming in my head, the one I tried to push away. If it were a person, they'd make mistakes. They'd be early, or late, or impatient. Whatever was making that sound wasn't. Over the next week, I changed things. I stayed in different rooms. I went to bed earlier. I stayed up later. I played music. I sat in silence. I even left the apartment once and came back after midnight, just to see if breaking the routine would change anything. It didn't. Every night. 1:17 a.m. One knock. Always one. I tried reacting to it. One night, right after the sound, I opened the door immediately. Another night, I waited 10 seconds. Another night, a full minute. I stomped once on the floor. I knocked back on my own door. I even said, "Hello," out loud, feeling ridiculous as soon as the word left my mouth. Nothing ever responded, not even an echo. That's when I noticed the worst part. The knock never changed based on what I did. It didn't hesitate, it didn't repeat itself, it didn't stop. It was as if my presence, my awareness, had nothing to do with it at all. Like it wasn't trying to get my attention. Like I was just nearby. One night, I didn't hear it. I sat there waiting, watching the clock tick closer to 1:17, my body tense. The minute came and went. No sound. I remember feeling relieved until I checked the time again. 1:16. The knock came exactly 60 seconds later, still on schedule, just not based on my clock. That was the night I stopped trying to explain it. I started sleeping with the lights on. I stopped opening the door. I stopped standing near the hallway at night. But even from my bedroom, even with a pillow over my head, I could hear it. One knock, always the same. And every night after it happened, the silence felt heavier than before, like the building was waiting for something else that never came. I moved out 3 weeks later. On my last night there, surrounded by boxes, sitting on the floor with nothing left to unpack, I heard the knock one final time. 1:17 a.m. I didn't check the hallway. I didn't open the door. I didn't react at all. I just sat there, listening to the silence afterward, realizing something I hadn't let myself think until then. The knock never happened on nights when I wasn't there. It wasn't tied to the apartment. It was tied to me. I didn't tell anyone about the knock when I moved. Not friends, not family. It felt embarrassing to explain, like admitting I'd scared myself over nothing. I framed the move as practical. Closer to work, better rent, less noise. None of that was entirely true, but it was easier than trying to describe something I couldn't prove had ever happened. The new place was different. Newer building, thicker walls, different layout. I made a point of noticing the sounds at night. The hum of the refrigerator, the distant traffic, the occasional elevator chime. Normal sounds. Predictable ones. For the first few nights, I slept deeply. No knock. I remember waking up on the fourth morning, feeling lighter than I had in weeks. The tension in my shoulders had loosened. Whatever had followed me, whatever pattern I'd convinced myself was real, seemed to have stayed behind. That day at work, I caught myself smiling for no reason. I even laughed when a co-worker complained about how thin the walls in his apartment were. Noise felt harmless again. That night I stayed up later than usual. Not because I was nervous, because I wasn't. I sat on the edge of the bed, scrolling through my phone. Lights off, window cracked open to let in the cool air. I wasn't watching the clock. I didn't care what time it was. When the sound came, it almost didn't register. One knock, soft, dull, familiar. My body reacted before my mind did. My heart dropped, my stomach tightened, and my hands went cold all at once. I didn't move. I didn't breathe. I waited for my brain to catch up and tell me I was wrong. It didn't. The knock hadn't come from the door. It came from inside the apartment, not a wall, not the ceiling, closer, somewhere behind me. I turned slowly, afraid that any sudden movement would make it worse. Not because something would happen, but because I didn't want to confirm what I already felt in my chest. The apartment was exactly as I'd left it. Bedroom door open, hallway dark, living room empty. I checked my phone. 1:17 a.m. I sat there for a long time, listening. Nothing else followed. No footsteps, no shift in the floor, no second sound, just that same heavy silence pressing down on everything. I didn't sleep that night. I kept the lights on until morning, sitting on the bed with my back against the wall, replaying every detail in my head. The move, the timing, the way the knock never reacted to me. I told myself it was stress, muscle memory, my mind recreating something it had learned to fear. That explanation lasted until the next night. I heard it again, same time. Same sound, different place. Sometimes it came from the hallway, sometimes the living room. Once, it sounded like it came from the bathroom door, not on it, but behind it. Always once, always precise, never close enough to touch. I stopped trying to locate it after a while. Location didn't matter anymore. What mattered was that it followed a rule I couldn't break. I experimented again, even though every instinct told me not to. One night, I stayed at a friend's place across town. I didn't bring much, just a backpack and my phone charger. I didn't tell him why I wanted to crash there on a weekday. I just said I needed a change of scenery. We watched a movie, talked until late, eventually fell asleep on opposite ends of the couch. At 1:17 a.m., I woke up. I didn't hear the knock, but I felt it. That's the only way I can describe it. A brief pressure in my chest, a sense of something completing a step it had taken many times before. I sat up, heart racing, listening. The apartment was quiet, too quiet. I checked my phone. 1:18 a.m. The knock had already happened. I didn't tell my friend. I left early the next morning, blaming a headache. After that, I stopped sleeping anywhere but my own bed. At least there, I knew what to expect. Weeks passed, then months. The knock never changed. I tried therapy. I tried medication. I tried white noise machines and fans and sleeping apps. I tried convincing myself that even if it was real, it wasn't harmful. After all, nothing had ever followed it. Nothing had ever escalated. It was just a sound. That thought helped for a while. Until the night it came late. I was lying in bed, half asleep, when I noticed the absence before the sound itself. My body had learned the rhythm too well. When 1:17 passed without it, I felt a spike of panic sharper than anything before. I checked the time. 1:19 a.m. Then the knock came. Same sound, but something about it felt heavier. Not louder, not closer, more deliberate. I sat up slowly, my mouth dry. I waited for the silence to settle like it always did. It didn't. Instead, I became aware of something else. Not a sound, a presence. The sense that something was waiting for a response it had never required before. I didn't move. I didn't speak. Minutes passed. Nothing happened. Eventually, exhaustion won. I lay back down and stared at the ceiling until sleep took me. The next morning I found the mark. It was faint, easy to miss. Just a small indentation on the inside of my bedroom door at about shoulder height, like something solid had pressed against it briefly. Not a crack, not damage, just evidence. I moved again shortly after that. New city this time, different routine, different job. I threw away furniture, replaced locks, changed my number. I even changed the way I dressed, the way I carried myself, as if that could make me less recognizable to something that didn't seem to need eyes. The knock still came, always once, always at night, always near. I stopped counting the places it followed me to. What changed wasn't the sound, it was me. Over time, I stopped fearing it, not because it felt safe, but because it felt inevitable, like a clock ticking in another room. I learned to sleep through it. Sometimes I didn't even wake up anymore. I'd notice it only in the morning, the same dull heaviness lingering in the air. The knock didn't want my attention. It didn't want a door opened. It didn't want to be acknowledged. It was just marking something, keeping time. I'm writing this now because something happened last night that I can't ignore. I didn't hear the knock. I woke up at 1:17 a.m. exactly, heart racing, convinced I'd missed it. But the apartment was silent, no pressure, no heaviness, just normal night sounds. I waited. Minutes passed. Nothing came. For the first time in years, the pattern broke completely. And instead of relief, I felt something much worse. Because whatever had been keeping time for me didn't need to anymore.